In this episode of Voice of the Sea, we're cleaning up massive amounts of plastic pollution with PMDP, the Papahānaumokuākea Marine Debris Project. We visit the PMDP headquarters and warehouse as they prepare for another expedition to continue their mission, removing debris and caring for Papahānaumokuākea, the 580,000 square miles of coral reefs, atolls, aquatic habitat, and wildlife of the Northwestern Hawaiian Islands. We start off talking with field logistics specialist Lauren Fraser and marine debris technician Kaui Aguiar. But first, we hear from PMDP President Kevin O'Brien and PMDP Executive Director James Morioka.
Papahānaumokuākea is the 10 or so uninhabited islands and atolls that stretch for about 1,300 miles beyond Kauai and Niihau. By virtue of where those islands sit in the North Pacific, they're just in the wrong place to accumulate an incredible amount of marine debris. Actually, working where we work is a real challenge because not only are we working in surf, in shallow coral reefs on remote coastlines, we're also working in this environment where there are thousands and thousands of protected birds and endangered seals and turtles and everything that uses this place as a sanctuary. What that really means is that you're not using a lot of big machinery. Individual humans are the best tool for the job in this particular environment. And it's such a special place that if we were to stop cleaning up, the impacts would be tremendous. We would have extinction events, we would have a loss of biodiversity, and what we're doing is we're buying time for these species and habitats until we can solve the larger problem and reduce the amount of plastic that's actually ending up in the ocean. Where we work in Papahānaumokuākea, we see plastics and ghost nets on the shorelines, and then we see ghost nets on the reef that may weigh thousands and thousands of pounds, smothering living coral reefs. We see endangered Hawaiian monk seals on the beach tangled in these nets. We see green sea turtles, honu, also tangled underwater, sometimes drowned by the net. We see seabirds that have ingested so much plastic that they don't have any room in their stomachs for real food, and there's carcasses of Laysan albatross all over the place. Those are the impacts that we see when we're there in those islands cleaning up. We see that on a daily, almost hourly basis. There's a lot of problems facing the ocean, all these sort of big nebulous problems that we don't know how to take action on today. But when you go to Papahānaumokuākea and you see the beaches just so cluttered with plastic, you realize this is something we can actually do something about. Like, we can get rid of this stuff, we can clean it up and give everything that lives there the best chance of survival.
We just recently reached a major milestone of 1 million pounds of marine debris removed from the Papahānaumokuākea Marine National Monument over the last 4 years. To get to 1 million pounds, it took 10 intensive, month-long cleanup missions, a lot of dedicated folks here in Hawaii taking care of Hawaii. We're here at Sand Island in Kuaihelani, and as you can see, our team is working on removing a large trawl net. These trawl nets can smother coral reefs, as you can kind of see here, and as these nets drag across the reefs, it picks up living coral heads, and it has a devastating impact on the coral reef ecosystems out here. And so our team is working really hard, diligently to remove this 1,000-pound plus net so it doesn't re-enter the ocean and impact more coral like this one did.
I've seen some kind of breakdowns of the different types of marine debris that you bring home. Can you give me some of the flashy numbers?
78% over the last 4 years was derelict fishing nets or discarded fishing nets, ghost nets by weight. Most of what we do is remove derelict fishing nets off of the reef. Less than 0.1% is actually like Hawaii-based fisheries gear.
How do we as individuals make a difference if it's not my marine debris that's getting up to Papahānaumokuākea?
The biggest impact you can make is to support local fishers. Having a local fisherman that you buy local fish from is probably the best way versus supporting an industry that uses this kind of gear.
If we talk about the life cycle of the marine debris and these large derelict fishing nets that you guys work with, you bring them back and they actually get a new life.
Yeah, so none of our marine debris actually makes its way into the landfills. All of it is either repurposed through a cool initiative called Nets to Roads, and so they're able to use plastic and nets into roads or cement blocks or other products like plastic lumber, and then the rest gets converted to energy. So at Covanta H-Power, they're able to incinerate this marine debris so it's not shipped off the island, it's not put in landfills, and you can generate electricity for homes on Oahu.
Talk to me about this research that came out recently showing the effect of marine debris removal and on monk seals.
We were recently published in Science. If you haven't checked it out, PMDP is on the cover, which showed 4 decades of data that said that marine debris removals positively affected monk seals. And so less entanglements where there was large cleanups happening. And there's research out there that says anywhere between 32 to 36% of the remaining Hawaiian monk seals left in the world are alive due to marine debris removal efforts and human intervention. Right now we have our application window open to become a marine debris technician. We're hoping to hire anywhere from 4 to 8 new technicians, train them in small boat operations, free diving, kind of what it's like to be a field worker here in Hawaii. Then they do 2 missions to Papahānaumokuākea with the goal of removing over 200,000 pounds. And then at the end of that, you know, you've got the certifications and training to become a leader somewhere in Hawaii conservation.
Oh, that's really cool.
My home has taken care of me my entire life. I would not be who I am without where I come from. I would not be who I am without my culture. So I think it's important that I do my part to feed into that, or to nurture that, or to do what I can to preserve that. It's so interesting that this perceivably untouched place, this place that is protected and doesn't accept a lot of folks into it, is covered in our trash. So in a way we are touching it, in a way we are affecting it, even if, you know, we haven't seen it. It's important, I think, that folks know where their products are going, or like where their waste is going. Because also this area like feeds our area. Those islands are kupuna to ours, those fish are kupuna to ours, those waters are kupuna to ours. All the things that are there are feeding into the waters that we see, the waters that we play in, the waters that we fish from. I'm extremely grateful that I've been able to go as many times as I have. There's such honor in the work. When I'm out there, I feel useful, and I feel proud, and I feel spiritually connected to folks that came before me. I don't always feel that, like in my day-to-day life.
Can you kind of explain to me, describe some of the things that you need to learn?
Everyone takes freediving lessons, everyone takes small boat operator lessons. We're our own mechanics out there, so if the boats break down, we have to know how to fix them. We go through a bunch of medical training. We work with cranes and forklifts and all sorts of industrial stuff, so we go through training on that as well. And that's just to do the basic job, but then on top of that, we're also learning how to manage inventory for the first time, how to deal with biosecurity. Every island is so precious and has their own resources and unfortunately their own host of invasive species. And every island is treated differently because of that, because you don't want any of that to intermix. We have one set of gear, everything you need to do our land debris for each island. So that means every person has a pair of shoes, shorts, t-shirt, buff, gloves for each island. Everything has to be frozen for 48 hours before we can take any of it on the island, so that it would kill any kind of living invasive species that would be in the clothes or in the gear. Every island has its own bin that includes their shovels, knives, backpacks, water bottles. We do laundry every night to clean it when we're at the same island.
Talk to me about marine debris research in a lab. What does that look like?
Yeah, so I went to Hawaii Pacific University and was a student under the Center for Marine Debris Research, which is actually a partner of ours. And when I was a student there, I was doing research on plastic ingestion in Nunulu, which are bone-in petrels from Papahānaumokuākea. Fish and Wildlife would send these specimens to me, so these dead birds, and then I would do necropsies on them and look at their gut content to see how much plastic they're ingesting up there. In general, 98% of my birds had plastic in their stomach. And what I found too was that the chicks had more plastic than the adults. What we were seeing is These adults are going out, they're finding food for their chicks, and then they offload it. So they regurgitate the food to their chicks. And so what they're giving them is also including plastic. All of that plastic is going to break up into smaller pieces. And as it breaks up into these smaller pieces, it becomes more bioavailable for animals to ingest. So they're not going to eat a net, but they're going to eat the tiny little pieces of broken up net that become these fibers. And that's what I was seeing in their stomach was net fibers. It was little tiny pieces of plastic fragments. These types of things that we're finding here are what we find in the stomachs of these animals after they die. We usually prioritize the bigger things like this right here because we know that it is going to break into the small pieces and become more bioavailable. And when you're talking about removing 1 million pounds since the existence of this organization, that's not something that's ever done by yourself. It has to take incredible teamwork. The fact that 16 people are able to do that with their hands, just move 1 million pounds out of the ocean, it takes so much teamwork, so much camaraderie. And so to be able to join PMDP and actually go voyage up there and be the hands and feet that cleans up the trash in this beautiful place was, and still is, the biggest honor of my life.
The University of Hawaii Sea Grant College Program, focused on Hawaii's coasts and its communities through sustainable development, safe seafood supply, sustainable coastal tourism, hazard resilience, and healthy coastal ecosystems. Hawaii's Sea Grant.
You're watching Voice of the Sea. We're at PMDP's warehouse as they prepare to go on their next expedition. We talked to marine debris technician Ka'ehukai Goen and expedition photographer Andy Sullivan Haskins about the cultural significance of Papahānaumokuākea and what it's really like to be up there removing plastic pollution for a month at a time. What's a typical expedition like now?
We definitely always wake up at old dark 30. We have 4 Zodiacs and 4 people on each Zodiac at a time. So it's tight quarters, but we make it work. When we're doing operations, it's always 2 people up top on the Zodiac and 2 people down. When the divers come across a net, they'll let us know. And it's always 1 up at the surface and 1 down when they're getting everything ready for us to either attach to the Zodiac or to pull up. Everybody has their long blade fins with their weight belts, snorkel, and then we have our knives to cut the nets off. The guys that are topside in the Zodiac are always like on the lookout for maybe seals coming in or other debris, making sure that they're not gonna run us over. Especially like if a squall comes through, you cannot really see anything. Safety is the #1 priority. Like, the work is very important, but you cannot replace a life. When we're up there, I just try to remind them that this place is a place of our ancestors. They're looking at you and trying to recognize who you are, what line you come from, and what intentions you bring. If it wasn't for marine debris, I wouldn't be up there, just 100%. So it's a sweet and sour feeling every time you go up.
So the first time you got to go to Papahānaumokuākea was as a part of PMDP?
It was a part of PMDP, but it was like the grassroots, like very first trip. We got dropped off at Lalo for 11 or 12 days, and yeah, it was just eye-opening, mind-boggling. Couldn't believe that all of this trash and stuff was left up there, but at the same time, like, seeing the amount of life and resources, being resilient to that, yeah, that gave me like a lot of hope for even down here.
Well, I've worked in Papahānaumokuākea since 2014. I've lived almost 5 years of my life on Holaniku. So I feel like I have a really special connection to seeing the whole picture. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has done amazing work at Lalo, at Kamole, at Kuehilani, at Manavai. There's a lot of dedicated people doing a lot of good work. This is the most impactful thing that's happening in Papahānaumokuākea right now, because they're taking action. They're coming out and they're just solving a problem. The problem is there's tons of garbage and nets and plastics all over the beach, and they're taking it away. For me, I serve as the expedition photographer. I'm also a small boat operator, a free diver. So I'm doing the job, and when I see something really, really impactful, grab the camera, jump in the water, take pictures and video of the crew removing the debris. It's a passion of mine to work out in the monument, be surrounded by wildlife, and then bring back the stories that we see and the experiences we have to the people here. We also do research with the seals, we do tagging, we do handling events, disentanglement, stuff like that. I work closely with the Laysan duck, help to mitigate botulism events, and then do rehab.
What's the hardest part of going out on these 30-day trips?
The hardest part about going on these 30-day trips is that they're not longer, or that we don't have enough room to take more stuff. We leave a lot on the table, right? We fill up a boat with 170,000 pounds of net and plastic, and we could have stayed there for another couple months diving and pulling out nets and removing plastic and disentangling wildlife. We're visiting that area like, a couple days a year. This is happening every single day. Turtles are getting stuck, crabs are getting stuck, fish are getting stuck, birds are getting stuck. All the wildlife is getting affected by this marine debris, and we have to just leave it. We take what we can, but once the boat is full, there's nothing else you can do, right? Just come back next year.
We are looking for a few heroes, mentors, trailblazers, innovators, a passion to change lives, spark curiosity, open hearts, and awaken minds, help students answer the question, who am I? This could be your calling, but this is no job. It's the journey of a lifetime. Be a hero. Be a teacher.
You're watching Voice of the Sea. We're at PMDP's warehouse talking about the technology they're using to improve the speed and efficiency of marine debris detection, cutting, and removal, with Innovation Team Leader Derek Levault and Mechanical Engineer Jesse Mounier. What is your role in the PMDP team?
Well, I'm the quartermaster, and so my responsibilities are somewhat broad. I do some just regular operational things, but also trying to head up different inventions and spin up different ways to improve our efficiency. I'm all about efficiency and productivity, whether it's autonomously operated detection, like a drone flying that can find the things for us. Cutting tools right now is a bread knife, but I think there's still some meat on the bone. There's still some improvements to be made. And we're trying them all and seeing what works and what doesn't, whether it's even just finding the best bread knife or a battery-powered one or some other cutting tool. You can spend hours and hours right now trying to cut a net to get it off the reef and into your boat, and we want to pare that down to minutes and minutes. There are plenty of different tools you can take underwater, whether it's hydraulic, which can work underwater, possibly pneumatic. There are battery-powered tools, and there are some off the shelf that are already waterproofed. We just have to make them a little better, and that's kind of what we're working on right now. In order to improve our ability to detect the nets, we've got the DPVs, or the diver propulsion vehicles.
This is just an underwater thruster. This one probably wouldn't be big enough to move a person. You need a few of them, but just a sort of like a prototype where to get your wiring and your code right.
Are you going to build thrusters to move you guys around?
Yes. That will allow us to move more efficiently, a little quicker, and with, almost no energy whatsoever, and then we can detect the nets quickly and get them out.
When you go up to the monument, past Niihau up there, it's a different story, and some of the nets you find up there are just insane. The nets are huge. You roll up on a net and you're just like, how do we even begin? And that's where you got to reach into your toolbox, which is, okay, observe the surroundings. First of all, how can we get this net out without damaging any of the wildlife around? That's our number one. Number two is, you know, what do we have? Do we have sand over here, rocks over there, reef over here? Can we utilize our boat to help us pull it out? Can we lift the whole thing into a boat? Do we send on a line? Do we deploy some of the other innovations we've been using, like the inflatable different lift bags that we can use to help float it up, different ice lines? And you just really got to work as a team and formulate a plan, and every net is different. More so, we're just trying to develop all these different tools that people can take into the field to work on the puzzle and do it safer, do it faster, and save energy doing it so you have more energy for the next net that you're working on. So this here is our Sea Bob. It's kind of just a prototype for a larger extraction platform that we're going to build out of steel sea channels and I-beams and steel grating as the deck surface. We were like, let's build a basic concept so that we can get a better understanding of all the different physics and dynamics that are going on in the process of winching a very heavy, large net onto some sort of floating barge. We're gonna start winching this thing up and see how it does.
The point of that thing is to be a prototype for this, which will be our extraction platform. This will have the drop gate, which the Square Bob has, and the winch to pull up the net.
In this test, we've created a bench test to be able to get a numerical quantification of the effectiveness of many different blade types, from standard Sawzall blades to different wire saw blades that would be used on a bandsaw, different types of blades you'd even find in your kitchen, X-Acto knives, you name it. We've tried a lot of stuff on here. We're also able to test different stroke lengths here, as you can see by our different rotary wheels in our Scotch yoke, which is what this device is that turns the rotational motion into linear motion. We've just started doing some new prototypes as well with this stroke extender that takes the linear motion and through this cam increases it by a factor of 2. So if you want to stand back just a little bit, just in case we haven't tested this a bunch, but as you can see here, it extends the stroke length. We are going to do more tests on this cutting net, but it has shown to be between 60 and 40% more efficient at cutting through line. It's just a prototype right now. As you can see, it's kind of bulky and stuff, but we're just trying to finalize our proof of concept here and then move on to our next steps of making something that can be used underwater and maybe extending the stroke length even more. So we 3D printed this, and we did a lot of force design on CAD to try to figure out the infill for our 3D prints and the best geometries for the different components. You're using a lot of the stuff you may learn in college, like physics and different sorts of equations and bending stress and shear stress and moments of inertia, kinematics, mechanics of materials. We just got a CNC mill, so we're gonna start making these out of metal and do more tests, go from there, and hopefully make something that not only our own crew could use, but other marine debris projects around the Pacific and around the world could use if they were in a similar situation. To be able to use what I've learned in college and give back to the ocean has been a real dream come true, and to work with such an amazing and diverse team of super skilled and smart people and inspiring people, it's been unreal.
Many hands really do make a difference. Get involved with debris removal and plastic cleanup efforts in your area. Learn more about Papahānaumokuākea, PMDP, and marine debris on our website at voiceofthesea.org. Follow us on social media at Voice of the Sea TV. Mahalo for watching Voice of the Sea. Exploring Our Fluid Earth is the dynamic curriculum developed by the University of Hawaii's Curriculum Research and Development Group. The award-winning Fluid Earth and Living Ocean textbooks are now interactive and online. New activities, updated content, and a teacher community. Exploring Our Fluid Earth is now freely available. Find out more at exploringourfluidearth.org.